Let's bring in General Anthony Tata, a retired U.S. Army Brigadier General and the author of Total Empire. General, I just want to get your take. The U.S. launching airstrikes into Syria, clearly in response to these Iranian proxies going after our military installations, 10 of them in Iraq, 4 of them in Syria, wounding 21 plus military members, some of those members experiencing temporary brain injuries. What do you think of what happened tonight?
Yeah, Trace, great to be with you. I haven't spent a lot of time in this region. The Iranian proxies and the Shia militia groups in Iraq, those in Syria, Hezbollah, Hamas, they all want to attack and harm U.S. interests and U.S. personnel. They did so a week ago. The president, I think, rightfully responded in kind. The question is, what did we disrupt? What did we attack? Did we disrupt their capability to continue to attack our personnel in the region? Iran is behind this. The administration's been very slow to acknowledge that Iran is behind this. I think today with Kirby's press conference and other comments made by the administration, they're coming to the realization that they can't have it both ways by appeasing Iran and helping Israel defend itself and protecting U.S. soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in the Middle East. So I think this was a necessary step. It is part, and you're right, it's going to be conflated with, the average Joe Lunchpail in the Middle East there is going to say, well, this is the United States coming in to help Israel, because it does have that sort of tangential effect of separating forces from being able to attack into the Golan in Israel.
Yeah, and General, I want to kind of pick up on something you said early in your statement there. You were saying that we don't know what they've hit. We don't know exactly what the targets were. And my question would be, does it matter? Is it the targets they're going after, or is this just a statement coming from the United States? What's your take?
Yeah, Trace, I think it does matter. I think, the Shia militia groups that have attacked our troops, we want to degrade. First and foremost, the responsibility is to protect our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and our bases and our property in that area. And so we want to do that. We want to disrupt their capability. We want to do more than just make a statement. We want to deny them the right, the ability to get in there and harm our people and disrupt our ability to conduct our operations in the Middle East. So that's first and foremost. Now, I'm assuming that these were well designated targets, well-placed targets, and that we had some effect. I mean, our Air Force, Navy, et cetera, are very good at doing this kind of thing. When they fly and target, our targeting cells are very good, and very proud of the men and women that have conducted these operations.
I wonder, sir, if you look at some of these reports. I was reading reports today where you have, members of Hamas that are actually in Russia. You have the Iranian foreign minister in Russia. Right. If there's an interest on your end as to why these people are in Russia, as to what role that Russia wants to play, is there this feeling that Russia wants to be the mediator in some of this, that Russia wants to get a bigger platform in some of this going on in the Middle East? What's your thought on that, sir?
Yeah, Trace, I don't think Russia wants to mediate. I think they want to help drive the United States out of the Middle East. I think they want to inflict pain on the United States and Israel by extension. This is all about Iran's influence. Iran is providing drones and other munitions to Russia. There's an alliance. What this administration has allowed to happen is this alliance between China, Iran, and Russia, and even North Korea, less of a factor here, to ossify and come into a very crystal clear existence where they are supporting one another. And so Russia's best interests, their self-interests, are best served by the United States getting a black eye here. And so they're gonna do whatever they can to help that happen, because we are doing that to them in Ukraine. And so this is geopolitics, and realpolitik at its finest.
And as you look at the military chessboard here, sir, I'm just wondering if the United States is clearly trying to make a statement saying, look, this is a one-off. Now stop it. Stop the proxies. Stop going after our military installations. What if it doesn't stop? What if you have these groups going back after our militaries, maybe even more robust? Then what, sir? Do we respond again with another attack? It just seems like we're now kind of on a bad path.
No, we are on a bad path, and that bad path started in Afghanistan 2.5 years ago or so. And the weakness that has been demonstrated has resulted in Iran and others flexing their muscle and taking advantage of the vacuum. And so where we are today is that we've got to really confront the dilemma that we are in. We have really two dilemmas here. We have our interests in the Middle East, which include Israel, and then Israel's the attack on Israel by Hamas. They're really two separate problems, but they will be conflated. And the real issue is, if we push on Iran and Russia then and China then perhaps get involved, and now we're talking not just Israel, Hamas, Gaza, we're talking regional, perhaps global conflict with multiple nuclear nations involved.
And I'm wondering, General, as the last question here, if these proxy groups in Syria or in Lebanon or wherever respond, is it one of those things that you can tolerate it for a little bit? What happens if Iran in some capacity responds? Does that change the equation here in your estimation?
Well, I think Iran has been covertly involved. They trained Hamas before the Hamas invasion of Israel. They've supplied all the weapons. We know this. So it's overt involvement already from Iran, and so that what step they would take beyond what they've already done, I think would just be sort of insult to injury. And we have enough justification, cause, means to act right now against Iran, and it's just a matter of calculus of what steps do we take, what are those hair triggers that we might branches and sequels. If we do this, what happens? What does the enemy choose to do? Because the enemy always gets a vote.
Yeah. General, if you'd stand by for us for a few minutes, we would greatly appreciate it, sir.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.